Hey, folks, welcome back to our brand new Onenie Sports Show. I'm your host, Stephen Lundbaum, and we are here today talking to Mark Sendo, who is the creator of a very unique new extreme sport. Is that how you would phrase it?
Yes.
And the company is called Big Air Tech, and we are going to dive way into that layer today. But let's start off first by just explaining, Mark, who are you? Why should our fans care about your experience in sports? How did you get into this? Give us a little bit about your background and history.
That sounds great. Thank you, Stephen, for having me on
no
your show.
problem.
I appreciate it. So I came up with the idea actually about 20 years ago. I was in a treatment facility with a bunch of people, and we were being creative, and the idea of air hockey on a human-sized scale came to mind. And then I drafted it, and I didn't do much with the idea for the next 15 years until I read an article in the New York Times about crushed ice, downhill ice skating. And so that's when I realized the world might be ready for an extreme, sport like.
And 20 years ago is when the extreme sports were first, when you had MTV and you had VH1, they started doing the X Games and all that stuff with Tony Hawk and them started coming around. So you were around in that time frame then is when you started creating this idea.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, great. So then you're creating this idea, you have this. It's been 20 years. What was the process? What was happening? Was there a lot of trial and error during that time frame, or what was going on through this idea that you had? I'm assuming it was right out of college days or something around there?
Yeah,
Okay.
then. So we didn't do much with the idea until about 2013. I met a guy who was a builder in Ann Arbor, and he also played hockey. So he kind of got my idea, and then I paid him to build a small prototype about 3 feet by 6 feet, just to see if we can create enough air pressure to float a larger puck than your typical air hockey table.
Yeah.
And so he did and was successful. And then what we did was we built a larger ring, 24 feet by 40 feet. That process was huge. It took about a year to build.
Yeah.
And it was built as a prototype rink. It had banker boards on the sides. It had nets. It had goalies. We had kids who played ice hockey their entire life hop on this rink and play it, and they just loved it. They didn't want to get off the rink. They said, we like this sport better than ice hockey. and even adults, whenever they got on the rink, they just smiled. There was something about the buzz of the fans or the air pressure or the LED lights or a combination of all that just made everyone delightful when they got on the rink. Yeah.
And so this design in the rink, it took a year to make, right? So what did you guys do with it after you had built it? Like, was it just being run for tests? Because I saw some videos where you guys talking about running tournaments, but this was about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So what kind of happened with that?
So what happened was we launched it at a Pirani hockey store in Livonia, the nation's largest hockey rink.
Yeah.
And we put it there. We had a Discovery Channel come down and videotape us installing it. And we were inundated with media and orders.
Yeah.
The problem at the time is we couldn't build these rinks economically. It was just too expensive to build them on scale.
Do you know how much, or are you like how much they were, just in terms of just building one of them was?
Yeah. For a 24 by 40 foot rink, the cost was about $210,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
210. And then you guys what was your operation like in terms of like, was it just you and the builder, or like how many people were involved back then?
We had about a dozen people involved at the time. And
it took a year to make, right?
Took a year to make. And so we launched and got all this media bliss, but we couldn't fulfill any orders because we couldn't build them economically. And the Red Wings, we were down at Joe Louis at the time, and they wanted us to put a rink down on the Joe Louis. The problem is my builder at the time quoted me a price of $1.5 million to build that rink, and it really didn't sit well with many people.
Yeah, no, I mean, unless you're Bill Gates and you have that kind of money just to throw around, I mean, that's insane. So it seems like what happened 5 years ago, you had this blitz, everything was going really well, and it kind of petered out, I guess you would say, in terms of like it was just not economically efficient.
Correct.
That was number one. So what did you guys do then where you had this great success and then it kind of, you had to backtrack? What'd you do in that time period to now?
So basically, I took a couple of years off and working for consulting with other tech startups and working on another startup of mine. And it wasn't until last year that I got the idea of reverse engineering the design process. And I met a man, Joshua Valdez, out of Ann Arbor, who's a mechanical, electrical, and computer science engineer all in one man. So he spent 9 months redesigning the process of building these rinks to use what's called plastic injection molding. So you could just stamp out each tile with these big machines. And
so how was it? So you say you could do that. How was it originally done? How did you guys originally build it by?
Originally, it was built a big process. It was aluminized wood on the bottom. You had supports throughout. Each panel was 4x8 and weighed like 300 pounds.
Whoa, okay.
And it took high lows. It also required the facility to have three-phase electric, which is a powerful electric. And so we wanted to build rinks that where one or two people could assemble a rink.
Yeah.
Right? And you didn't need special electricity. You just plug it in the wall and turn it on and let it. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So Josh was able to redesign the rink. He built one air tile that's a hexagon shape, about 3 feet by 3 feet, a self-contained ducted fan to provide 250 CFM, which was strong enough air pressure to elevate a puck.
Okay.
So Josh did that last year, and within the last couple of months, we set up a new company, brought on a couple of new investors. We showed Disney the videos of the kids on the rink.
Yeah.
And the top guys at Disney's love the project. They love the idea. So we had a call with the man who runs worldwide programming at ESPN. So what they want us to do is launch this new designed rink at their Wide World of Sports complex down in Orlando.
Yeah.
And that for an extreme hockey championship. And so we're partnering with companies like State Wars Hockey that has 342 inline skating teams.
Okay.
And they have professional tournaments throughout the year. They have all the talent. So we think we've got the talent, we've got the venue. Now we're just raising money to build this rink for them.
Yeah. So in terms of just the rink itself and your idea for the sport, right? So this rink is going to be the same as the one you built 5 years ago in terms of size, or is it going to be a little smaller?
I think it's going to be a little larger.
It's going to be a little larger.
Yeah,
okay.
we want it 40 feet by 100 feet.
What is this standard? Do you know what the standard NHL size is?
Yeah, it's 90 feet by 190.
So it would be about half the size of
Correct.
a typical hockey rink.
Yep.
Okay. And then with your guys' design of the rink itself, is it so are you guys saying that this sport is going to be, because in my head, right, when I saw it, if it's going to be air, it's obviously not going to be ice, which is traditional. It's going to be more like roller hockey. In terms of like, are they going to be wearing skates, or are they just going to be on your feet when you play the game?
So the good thing about this, the way it was designed, you could use bare feet, tennis shoes, or inline hockey skates.
Yeah.
So for the tournaments, they're going to wear fully equipment inline skates, and and also the sides is like a bowl shape. So the corners and the sides is a
Oh.
180-degree inverted curve.
So is that kind of like how they do with the Olympic style hockey rinks, where the edges and stuff they're more curved, whereas the NHL it's a little bit flatter?
Yeah, but I'm talking about the actual sides. There's
Oh.
no banker boards. The skaters
Oh.
will be able to go up it and down it,
Oh, so it's going to be kind of like if you're
like
if
a
you're
half pipe.
exactly. That's what I was thinking.
Snowboard.
Like you're
Yep.
like your skateboarding.
Yeah, like a half
Oh,
pipe.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot less. I guess there won't really be any type of need for hockey stops then.
Yeah.
If you're doing it like that. So, wow, that is very unique. So for the professional one, it's going to be inline skating. Now, are there any kind of pads that these guys have to wear when they play it, or is it like what is the puck designed of? Because if it's explain more, I guess the details of the sport itself.
So the puck is the puck is asymmetrical, and it's flat with an indent here and here to capture the air under the surface of the puck. So if it flips, it captures the same amount on both sides. So the puck weighs about 150 grams.
Okay.
Where an NHL puck weighs, I think, about 300 grams. So it's about half the weight of a puck.
So it's a lot lighter.
It's a lot lighter,
lighter.
and it's a little larger.
Okay.
And I think that's what the kids loved about it. They can control this puck a lot more.
And then
with
is
the
it
stick.
what's the puck made out of exactly? Is it rubber like the NHL or
No, it's polypropylene.
Okay.
And you'll have rubber on the exterior just to prevent injuries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a much safer puck than the other one. So do you have to wear full gear when you're playing it? Like, do you have to?
I think when you play a game, you'll need full gear. If you're just out there playing around, you don't need
You
gear.
don't need it?
Yeah.
Okay. So then it's not, because that's the one thing a lot of people have in terms of hockey and just playing hockey in general. It is one of the most expensive sports to play, in this country. If you want to play basketball, you need a pair of shoes and you need a ball.
Yeah,
Like, that's pretty much
exactly.
it. Football is a little bit more pricier, and then, baseball. But hockey, you need all the equipment.
Yeah.
You need to get the skates. You need to get the stick. You need to get the tape. You need to get everything.
Yeah.
It's very expensive. So would your guys' game, in essence, be a more, maybe not streamlined version is the right word, but a more inexpensive option than playing traditional ice hockey?
Yeah, so besides the equipment, which we'll say is equivalent on both sports, the ice time, what it costs to operate an ice rink, just flat out minimum cost to refrigerate an ice rink 24/7 is $40,000 a month.
Really?
Just
And
to
that's like
operate a rink.
Zamboni costs and everything?
No, that's
like-
just
that's without that.
refrigeration.
Oh, wow.
So our rink will cost $4 an hour to operate, and you just turn it off when you're done. You don't
Yeah.
need to, keep it going when you're not playing.
Yeah.
So there's a huge economic shift here that we should enable many of the kids that can't ordinarily afford ice time. They can now play a sport that allows them to play
And it's
because of the
similar.
economics. Yeah.
Now, have you guys had? There's a lot of stuff about people, especially moving away from the more expensive sports the kids are, especially with baseball. We've seen it. We've seen it with hockey, where hockey's very prominent in the Midwest and Northeast and in obviously Canada, but it's not really ever really taken off outside of maybe Nashville, really in the lower parts of this country. Do you believe that your guys' sport is filling a market inefficiency or finding a niche within the market of being able to target these kids and target these communities where hockey is just not prevalent?
Yeah, absolutely. So the new design, you can put this in someone's backyard. So just imagine in a backyard, it's middle of summer in California, Texas, Arizona, Florida. You just flip on the switch. The fans begin blowing air. The LED lights turn on, and you're playing hockey with your friends in your backyard. In the middle of summer. It's just going to be
it's
incredible.
a lot easier than trying to find an ice rink when there isn't one.
Right, absolutely.
Going out to do that. So you guys think that you have found one of the issues that the NHL has had for years is just getting kids to play it outside cold weather states. So this would be an alternative to that in a nutshell.
Yeah, absolutely. And then one of the people at the NHL, they looked at our rink, and major discouragement for kids learning hockey is they're sweating so much because of all the equipment and everything, and they just don't like it. But with the air blowing up, they thought this would allow many more kids that otherwise would be reluctant to ice skate to try a new sport.
So it gets them. So have you guys have had talks with the NHL then?
Yeah, we did back then.
So
yeah.
they're at least they were interested at one point, simply because, I mean, for them they need to figure out a way to enhance their product to younger generations.
Yeah, and it creates a new development league, we think, that kids who ordinarily wouldn't play ice hockey now want to try it. I think inline skating is fairly simple.
Yeah.
It's much easier than ice hockey to
Yeah,
play.
it is.
And I think the speeds will be just as fast, if not faster, with the air pressurized surface with the puck.
So how does the game work then exactly like a traditional game would work? Is it 5-on-5? Is it, goalies? Like what do you guys have there?
So for the 45 by 90 foot rink, we think it's like 4-on-4 with the goalie. Excuse me.
No worries.
With the goalie. On the pro rink, there are a couple advantages. So we have a 2-point slot net, it's called, where in the back of the net, the goalie nets are lower than the NHL size, but they're a little wider.
Okay.
And in the back of both sides of the goalie net, you have a little slot. If the puck goes in there, they get 2 points.
Okay, so it's a way of like introducing like a 3-point line to hockey.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what has been in terms of so far? You've said you've had people test it out. What have been their response to like that kind of, I guess, innovation happening in a sport where hockey's very traditional and what it does? It takes forever to innovate in just the NHL.
Yeah.
What other is this just one of the things you guys are doing? Or are you guys trying to completely innovate the sport itself?
So we're trying to innovate the sport itself and create an extreme type of experience for people. Like there's no checking in inline pro skating.
Yeah.
We might allow checking for the pro style here. We're not sure because of the sides, the inverted bank curves. We don't want to be too dangerous, but we also need to find the right balance of excitement and precaution
and safety.
Yeah, exactly.
So what has the response been like from parents who've had kids try it out? Do they like it? Because it seems like it's, one of the issues that the NHL has, the same one the NFL has, is the CTE and concussions from repeated hits. And I know they've gotten rid of checking for certain age levels in the U.S. I think anything under like 13 you can't check now.
Yeah.
What has that response? Have you guys had any input with that? Has that affected you in any way, really, parents' response in terms of how you guys design your product?
The parents of the kids that were on, they loved it. They thought it was great as well. They got on the rink and they just smiled. We didn't talk too much about the dangers of it, although it wasn't. You can't shoot a blazing slap shot in this sport.
Yeah.
Because the puck is wider, larger, and lighter, so it kind of floats a little bit in the air when you lift it or do a slap shot.
Yeah, so it's a lot harder.
So the goal is to keep the puck on the rink where it's air pressurized and it floats. There's no friction, allowing incredibly fast gameplay. Yeah.
So now you're designing. Where are you designing the current rink at?
So it was designed in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
And right now we are looking for a plastic company. We're throwing our design out for bids to find out who's the best partner we can find to build this pro rink.
Okay. So is that a process that's ongoing, or do you have like a timeline of when you expect to find your plastic partner and when you expect the rink to be built?
Our goal is to have the pro rink built by this fall.
By this fall?
Yeah, so we can launch it down at the Wide World Sports Complex
at
Disney.
And then let's say, so right now you're just in the process of finding that person, and then you're going to build it over the summer.
Yes.
Okay. You're building it in Ann Arbor.
Yes.
Okay. So you're going from Ann Arbor to Florida. How are you going to be able to transport the rink? Is that just going to be traditional, or
big trucks?
Big trucks.
Yeah, big trucks will.
So when you do your setup? Is there been any talk about potential like TV deals with Disney, or is it just more about we're gonna try it here, and then if we like it, it's gonna go. We're gonna have it at the park, and then we're gonna have social media stuff for it. But has there been any talks about maybe like this turning into something they'll put on like one of their other, obviously not the main channel, but like one of their subsidiary channels?
No, that's a good question. So that was our like hot button. We wanted it to be a broadcast on ESPN.
I mean, they broadcast cornhole championships for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So I mean,
we are in discussions to have the tournament championship broadcast on ESPN while we're down there.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be like a 3-day event with many teams participating and having the championship game broadcast on ESPN. So we're going to pay for that. We'll have to pay for that.
Yeah, but that would be incredible exposure, especially with their new ESPN Plus that they've launched. Has there been any talks about getting for you guys? We have had they had this baller league for like street ball where they brought like all these retired NBA stars and they played games at like downtown and stuff.
Yeah.
Have you guys talked with any either current or former NHL players about them participating in your sport?
Yeah. So back in 2014, we were going to have a tournament at Ford Field.
Oh, wow.
And the tournament was going to be the retired Red Wing players against the retired Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, okay.
And so that was back then. Since then, we haven't talked about having any ex-professional hockey players play. Mm-hmm. It's more in professional inline hockey players that will be playing.
Who are not, obviously not famous compared to those guys.
Correct.
But do you expect so your goal is to get it all set up, and you're hoping that it gets launched sometime this year.
Yes.
What do you guys do from there?
So a couple of things. One is that we think that we'll drive enough excitement from this televised event to have, let's say, people in major cities purchase a franchise. Mm-hmm. So they'll spend a lot of money to pay us to have a franchise team in their particular city. That will include the rink, and from there we'll start a major market professional sports league.
So that's interesting. So the goal is not as much to create. In terms of you guys branching into the recreational market, you're trying to create a new sports league.
Correct.
In essence.
That's my ultimate vision.
Okay.
Is to create a sports league where we have team owners. You have, I think we researched and we want to set up the league how the NFL used to be set up. Where you have a governing body, you have a commissioner, secretary, or whatever, and they kind of oversee the development of this league. Where you'll have drafting, you'll have sponsorship, you have rights, media rights, all that.
Oh, so entire. So what is your talks been like with sponsors so far about the product? Have you heard good feedback, or has it been kind of mixed reception?
So we haven't approached sponsors yet because we just began discussions with the ESPN
the broadcasting
and Disney, but we don't foresee this as a major problem. We think sponsors will come in for about 1/3 of the expected revenues. And 1/3 will be selling gear, equipment, rights, playtime, and the other 1/3 will come from private investors. So what is so when you have this, if it ever gets to that far, the sports league, you've created it, right? Is there going to be a point where, are you guys thinking you're selling out stadiums, or is it more going to be like on a micro level, kind of like how you have like Detroit City FC and they play kind of minor soccer here, and it's pretty popular. They get 5,000-10,000 fans a game. Are you guys expecting more of that, or are you going to try to maybe take into that NHL market? I think we're trying for like the alternative you just mentioned. Yeah. Well, you can't run, you got to walk first. So we thought we would start walking. The team owners will be able to drop this professional rink in any major stadium today that's existing in the city. That's the good thing about the portability of the rink. So that's kind of what we're focusing on.
And then, so how long? So you said it's going to take you at least the summer to build this new rink.
Yes.
Is that how long it's going to take? Probably 3 to 6 months for any rink, or are you expecting to expedite the process when you get it fully up and running?
So once the pro rink is built, we'll have the tool for the molding built, which is the expensive part and the arduous part of engineering this for plastic injection molding. But once we get the tool built, we should be able to pump out rinks once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're doing one a month, right? You got to take it down to Disney, and it all goes well. So once you have it all built and it's all, what would be your part in it, in the company then?
So I would like to participate in building this major professional sports league.
Yeah.
That's kind of my goal. I'll have engineers handle all the engineering of everything. Sponsor guys handle the sponsors. I would like to build this major market professional sports with like-minded professionals around the country. And in fact, we have interest from out in Europe as well.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing. Hockey has become very popular in terms of, obviously it'll never match soccer.
Yeah.
But when I was living over there, I noticed I had buddies who play on the local team. It's a professional sports league out there.
Yeah.
Especially in some countries. Where have you talked? I know Germany has and Russia have the two biggest Sweden and they have the biggest non-NHL leagues. What countries have you talked with?
We've talked to men representing like the Netherlands, Sweden, and the Netherlands, the Ukraine, and just generally most of Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what have their questions been? What have the responses been? What have they been looking for?
They basically want to know how much and how fast can you get us a rink.
Yeah. And so what have you said to them?
So we haven't defined the cost yet because, as I mentioned, we're looking for a plastic injection, plastics partner. So once we get that nailed down and we build this professional rink, we'll be able to
quote
provide
these people.
Those.
Yeah. And then, do you think it would be what market do you think would be easier to sell this product in? The overseas European market or the domestic one?
Well, I think domestic for sure. I think there's just a whole bunch of demand already that has been pent up, I think. So if you think about demand and potential demand, when inline hockey started, they had a 1-year contract with ESPN. They paid them a lot of money to broadcast because they were looking for another major sport. They felt they had enough demand. The 1 year expired. ESPN didn't renew. And the reason we think is when you play professional inline hockey, the puck is just too slow. It's not exciting for the spectator.
It doesn't suffer from the same reasons why the NHL ratings are the way they are outside of, hockey cities.
Yeah.
Like, we're in a hockey town, right?
Yeah.
So the Wings do well. But, like, you go to, like, Arizona, no one's watching hockey there.
Yeah, yeah.
So are you guys not worried about any of those things affecting you?
I don't think so, no. I think this will appeal to more people for first of all, the economics. Preliminary estimates of building a 45 by 100-foot rink, it's going to be about $60,000, $70,000 versus, it costs $2 million to build an NHL rink, right?
So it's a lot easier for the owners there. Now, are you guys going to build, I guess, scale down it for domestic and recreational activity as well?
Yeah. So there's a company called Sport Court. They build these sport courts in people's backyards. It's a tennis court, volleyball, basketball, inline, whatever they want to use. And so they sell through distributors around the country. They don't have any salesmen, excuse me.
No worries.
So we were thinking about developing on a retail basis, just develop a distributorship network.
A network of distributors?
So what would happen is, for example, the guy who handles the east side of Michigan from Lansing to the east, he paid $500,000 for the right just to sell sport courts. So we thought we would emulate that model, find these distributorships, sign deals with them, and let them handle the installation, the selling on the retail basis.
All that stuff.
Yeah,
So all you guys would have to provide for them then is the rinks.
correct.
Okay, so that makes it a lot easier. So you are going into a market where, I mean, at least from what I can see, the demand for hockey isn't what it used to be. How are you going to generate interest? How are you going to get the fans interested? How are you going to get the parents and the future kids interested? And how are you going to get it compete when even the NHL is struggling to do that at the moment?
Yeah, so we think extreme sports is the future. And we think extreme hockey with the inverted banks, with the 2-point goalie net. We also talked to Oracle, and they built us an app where because you have the surface and you have underneath for the airflow, there's something you could do with that besides put LED lights. We thought pucks could be so there would be no face-offs. So pucks based on an app. So imagine a fan, they can say, oh, I want the puck to come out near the other goalie. So I'll pay $1 for 10 clicks to have an app-initiated face-off is what it's called. So whatever point on the rink is tagged the most, the puck will pop up there. And the players don't know. No one knows except the technology.
Really?
Yeah.
Now that's pretty interesting. So it's
Yeah.
like you have that old school bubble arcade game where you're twisting the things right to hit the players, and you hit the button, the puck comes out.
Yeah.
It would be like that,
Correct.
except it would add an element of the game where no one would know where it'll be, here in the center of the ice or by one of the goalies, or
Precisely.
you have no idea.
Right.
Oh.
I came up with that idea. We partnered with Oracle. They built us a prototype app where there were 8 points in the rink and wherever. So what we wanted to do was get the fans more engaged in play. So I think this would be the first sport where fans could
Have a real
have a
influence
say in
on the
gameplay.
game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how was that? I feel like the fans would love it. What would the players though?
Well, the players would have to be on guard no matter what spot it
Okay.
is. So you need someone like kind of covering it.
Everything,
Yeah.
just to be prepared for it.
Yeah.
Now it wouldn't be like a pinball machine though, where you have pucks coming up. It would just be one puck.
Just one puck.
During the
Yeah.
thing, and would it be random intervals, or would it be?
Well, I think you'd have kind of stop play when NHL stops play or whatever.
Oh, okay.
You have the beginning of the periods and so on and so forth.
It would be like that.
Yes.
And it would basically. Well, that's a very interesting idea. And then, so that's a way to bring the fans into the product.
Yeah, that was the secret sauce, that app-initiated face-off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else that you guys are trying to do just to get, I guess, just to try to build a market, just to get fan engagement, just to see what they're interested? Are you taking ideas for them, or are they offering any?
Initially, people offered different ideas. These were kind of the solid ideas we thought were necessary to be very innovative in using technology to create a new type of gameplay. And, with the app-initiated face-off, with the 2-point slot goalie net, with the inverted banked walls, we thought, and the air pressurized surface. And the last thing is that the way the LED lights are, it will be configured where the lights will follow the puck. Right on the
so kind of like in a video game where you always know where the puck is, whereas if you watch hockey on TV or live, it's kind of hard to see just from the camera angle.
Yeah.
So you guys would create a way. How would you be able to take the lights to follow the puck? Because if the puck's moving as fast as you say it's going to move, I mean, would that be an issue, maybe a distracting thing, or would it be? How would you guys do that?
Well, you have an RFD tag embedded in the puck.
Yeah.
And then it communicates with the electronics below the surface. And, I think NHL tried to have that puck following on TV. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they did. That did not...
didn't do well.
No.
So we think by having the surface follow the puck, I think you can even create some algorithms to anticipate where the puck will go.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of potential technology that we can use to enhance gameplay.
Okay. So what would you say then if you're trying to sell your product and people are like, well, it just sounds like it's just a less expensive form of hockey. How do you sell your product to differentiate itself from what the NHL puts out, what, ice hockey companies are doing? I don't know. Are you guys working with USA Hockey? Because they're the biggest company in the U.S. for, obviously micro level of hockey.
Yes.
What do you do to differentiate yourself from the competition besides just being an extreme sport?
So, in fact, one of the members of my team spoke to USA Hockey, and they want to partner with us.
They do?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I think they're based in Denver or Colorado somewhere, and they've already given us the green light to partner once we get going.
Oh, wow.
And so that's really encouraging. I think the biggest factor for anyone is just get on. Once we get the rinks built, get on the rink. Just try it out.
Yeah.
When you play air hockey, it's fun, it's fast.
Yeah,
right?
and it's something people have been doing forever. In our case, yeah.
So it's a generational trust issue that we think we're going to build for this next generation
for the millennial generations and younger. Thinking because it's just I guess a bigger form of air hockey. Are you guys just using traditional hockey sticks, or are you using more like sweepers or something to push the puck? Like, have that been discussed or?
Yeah, so we are just going to be using traditional hockey sticks.
Traditional, old school.
Yeah.
Is there any issues that you guys have had with the air with composite versus wood sticks or anything like that?
No, there's been no real issues.
No issues.
It's been interchangeable.
Yeah. Have you talked with any of those like Warrior or Mission or any of those companies and maybe developing stuff for you guys?
We haven't yet, but that's
You're
on
going
our
to reach
to-do
out
list.
to them.
Yeah.
So what is your team? You said back then you guys were like half dozen or a dozen.
Yeah.
What does your team look like now, and who's going to help you bring this vision to life with ESPN and with developing a sport?
Yeah, so there's a guy out of Toronto. His name is Randy Ward. He runs the Canadian Sports Desk.
Oh, okay.
And he's launched other sports.
Which, because we have a lot of American viewers, what is the Canadian Sports Desk, if you want to just explain that quickly?
It's a event company that launches sports via media, via television, via broadcast rights, a podcast, whatever.
Yeah.
And so they bring in the sponsors, they bring in the funding, and in fact, Randy's leading discussions on our behalf with Disney and State Wars Hockey and whomever else we have discussions with. Yeah.
So you guys have focused more on the American market. It seems not really. Have you branched into the Canadian market, where obviously it's the national sport?
Yeah. So he just happens to be in Toronto and loves this idea.
Yeah.
I think because maybe he played hockey as a kid.
Well, I mean, living in Toronto, it's 50-50, right?
So he's the one leading the charge. I've got several guys here locally. Omar, he's been my key guy that I bounce every idea off. He's also an investor in the company. And there are a few other people that we've had a dozen people want to work for us.
Yeah.
Right? But we got to get going first.
Yeah.
We need to build this rink and create some buzz and media and excitement and demand for the rinks. And so, we're just taking it's a big project, but you got to take it one step at a time.
Yeah. So what have you learned from 5 years ago when you initially did this, right? What have been the lessons you learned from why that didn't work to what you're doing now, and how is it going to be different this time around?
So I think the biggest difference will be economics. I think if you can produce a 24 by 40 foot rink for someone's backyard for 30 grand versus we spent 210, that's a huge, significant advantage over the past. The second thing is that we really have had time to reflect on how to launch this. And with Disney as our partner, them using their massive media reach to help bring in people.
Probably the biggest in the world.
Yeah.
In terms of just a company being able to target the most markets in the world, it's probably Disney.
So, and it's funny, during our call, we had a PowerPoint presentation, and we had an ask. We wanted them to spend $250, and that was on like the 8th slide. But on the very first slide, Disney goes, "We're Disney. We don't spend any money to pay for anything." So they kind of flex their muscles there. And so we kind of rolled with it, and you know, we showed them the clips and told them what we were planning, and they loved it. So we hope to get this broadcasting deal done soon.
Done soon. So you're in active talks with them right now.
Yeah.
And then do you have any? You just have soon. You don't really have a timetable for that right now.
We're hoping fall of 2019.
Fall of 2019
Yep.
when it gets set up. So then so with the original broadcasting thing, it's just going to be whatever this 3-day event. And so it seems like you guys are putting a lot of stake into this event in terms of if you want to ever reach whatever the main goal is. Well, we know what the main goal is, but is there a lot of pressure then on getting this one event just perfect? Because it's hard to plan, like even like planning a wedding, trying to do that in 6-9 months is a pain. You're trying to plan an event to broadcast in front of the world, and then hopefully that takes off. I mean, what is that pressure like dealing with that?
Yeah, it's a typical startup pressure, and I think because the partners are so large, it adds increased stress, and that's why I always tell myself, just take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
And don't focus so much on the future. Just do the best that we can today.
All right. Last question here, Mark. What differentiates your product from any other extreme sport from hockey? What makes you guys special? What is the tagline? If you're going to sell this product, people, what's the one thing you tell them?
Incredibly fast gameplay. You know, because the air tiles are air pressurized. It's a lot of fun. It's an entertaining experience as well with the LED lights, right? And I just think with and it's economical. So I think with it's incredibly fast gameplay. That's really what we're striving for.
What you guys strive for?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by on our Onenie Sports Show. This is Mark Sendo, and his company is Big Air Tech. And now, what have you guys come up with the name of what you're going to call the sport when you get there, or are you guys just sticking with your company for now?
We haven't come up with the name.
You're working on it.
We're going to rely on the audience and fans to tell us.
So you guys could check them out, and it is www.bigairtech.com.
Yes.
And then do you guys have any social media along with that?
We just have the website up for now. We just got that up online for this podcast.
Okay, perfect. So that works out. And then you guys know where you could check us out at onenie.com. Check our LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all our social media. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen.
No problem.